Hello, everyone. My name is Holly Marquis, Safety Director with Approach Management Services. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the OSHA record keeping class with the new electronic reporting updates for 2020. Before we begin, I'd like to talk about the purpose of OSHA record keeping. The purpose of record keeping is to gather data about workplace injuries on a national level. OSHA collects this data for statistical purposes only. An important thing to remember is that OSHA record keeping is completely separate from L&I claims. My point is that when you decide if an injury or illness is recordable or not, it has nothing to do with the worker's L&I claim. It also doesn't mean you, as an employer, have done anything wrong. So, what do you need to do? OSHA record keeping requirements depend on your company's size and industry. Employers who had 10 or fewer employees do not need to keep records. Employers who had more than 10 employees must keep records. Now, if you're a small employer and you fluctuate closely from 10 to 11 employees each year, I suggest you keep records continuously. But there are some things all employers must do. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics, also known as the BLS, sends out surveys annually to randomly selected employers to gather injury and illness data nationwide. The BLS then publishes the data so you can compare your incident rate to national averages. If you get a survey request in the mail, you must do what is requested. Now, who must be counted towards your total employee count? All employees on your payroll would include salary, hourly, part-time, seasonal, and executive staff. Count them toward your total employment and record their injuries. This would include any temporary workers you will have hired through a labor agency. You do not count sole proprietors, partners, or employees of subcontractors. So how do you know when to record? To be recordable, the incident must be work-related. It must be a new incident and not an unrelated flare-up of an old condition. And it must require either time loss, light duty, or medical treatment beyond first aid. This is important to remember. Kept on salary, or KOS, is the same as time loss. You will record kept on salary days the same as time loss days because the employee was unable to work a full day. If you can answer yes to any of the following 4 questions, then the injury is recordable. The first question: was the employee at work and engaged in duties that benefited the employer? The second question: did the employee go to the doctor and receive medical treatment beyond first aid? Now, stitches are recordable and a bandage is not. We have included in your handouts what is considered medical treatment and what is considered first aid according to the rule. Please be sure to take a look at this document. You will find it very helpful. The third question: did the employee miss work as a result of the injury or illness? And the fourth question: did the employee return to work in a restricted or light duty position? We have also included a flow chart in your handouts to help you decide when to record. Many clients have commented how helpful the flow chart can be, so we encourage you to use it. So let's talk about general recording criteria. You always record a work-related injury or illness if it results in death, days away from work, also known as KOS, restricted work or a job transfer, also known as light duty, medical treatment beyond first aid, loss of consciousness, or a significant injury or illness diagnosed by a licensed healthcare professional. We have looked at the general recording criteria. Now let's take a look at specific recording criteria. Specific recording criteria are significant injuries or illnesses diagnosed by a licensed healthcare professional. Examples are shown on the screen: needle stick and sharps injuries, medical removal from work under a OSHA standard, such as chemical or lead exposure, occupational hearing loss, and tuberculosis. Here are examples of the forms and how you will fill them out. First, you must complete an OSHA 301 form, incident report, or an equivalent. This form must be filled out within 7 days of the incident. The first block is used to provide information about the employee who was injured and the clinic information. Identify who was filling out the form and the date it was created. And here we have the third block, is used to provide information about the accident and what happened. You then take the information from the OSHA 301 to complete the OSHA 300 log as shown on your screen. In columns A through F, you record details about the incident. Check only one box for each case in columns G through J, whichever is most severe. For example, a day completely away from work is more severe than being able to work part of the day. So they've checked box H in the example on your screen. In column K, you will record the number of days for kept on salary or time loss. In column L, you will record the number of days for light duty. Now here on the right, you will see the specific recording criteria we just talked about. In section M1 through M6, you only check one box as well. This shows an example of an injury where the employee had 5 days away from work due to an injury. If the employee had 5 days away due to a respiratory illness, you would only mark one box in section M3 for respiratory condition. Remember that when either column K or L reach 180 days or both columns combined reach 180 days, you can stop recording according to the rule. Here is an example of an OSHA 300A or summary. If you're using the electronic reporting form, it will automatically fill in the information from your OSHA 300 log onto your OSHA 300A. And here I've just brought up on the screen where it's automatically filled the totals from the columns from the OSHA log onto your OSHA summary. The electronic reporting form is included in the handouts, and it is much easier to use than completing the form manually. So please consider using it. You will also need to fill out some additional information on the right-hand side of the form, which I've just brought up on the screen: the name of your establishment, your NAICS code, the average number of employees you employed for the year, and the total hours worked by those employees for the year. You also must have an executive review the document and sign it. Then it's important for you to remember, after that's completed, to post the summary from February 1st to April 30th in a location where you usually post notices for your employees. All of these records then, the 301, the 300, and the 300A, must be retained for 5 years. There are formulas for computing your total recordable case rate and your days away restricted light duty rate. The electronic reporting form, also known as the injury tracking application, will calculate these rates for you, and we will demonstrate this for you shortly. Now we are going to talk about the electronic log requirement that goes into effect January 1st, 2020 in Washington State. You must submit the data from your OSHA 300A by March 2nd of 2020. Then continue to submit your data annually for each year thereafter. You must electronically report if your company has more than 250 employees and are not exempt, or if your company employed between 20 and 249 employees in any one location and are listed in the required reporting industries. Listed on the slide are some types of businesses who must electronically report. The complete list of businesses who must electronically report is found in Appendix B and included in your handouts as well. Another bit of information about Appendix B is that each business is listed by your NAICS code. When electronically reporting injury and illness records, you must also provide your federal tax identification number used by your establishment. This information is reported and tracked by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, for their own statistical purposes. Labor and Industries Division of Occupational Safety and Health, also known as DOSH, is not notified when employers submit this information to OSHA, and there is no enforcement in place at this time by DOSH. Another item that came out in the rule is that if you are required to electronically report your summary to OSHA and you receive a letter from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, you must complete both, do what BLS has requested and electronically report. So you have to do both. Here is the website address for access to the OSHA electronic reporting form. You can just type it into your web browser, injury tracking application, and it will come up. Another tip is that on the website it says you can upload a CSV file containing your 300A summary data. And per my conversation with an IT representative from OSHA, he said it's much easier to enter the data manually if you're from a smaller establishment. And I will demonstrate that for you. Now I will demonstrate how the injury tracking application works. This is the injury tracking application screen that you will first arrive at. What I did was I typed into the browser internal tracking application, and this is the screen that came up. Right over here on the right, you're going to click on Launch the Injury Tracking Application. Then what is going to come up is this web page where you will enter your username or your email address, which I have already done, and you will enter your password. And then you will click Log In. It will bring you to this page where you're going to enter your company information, create an establishment, we'll go to the next page and it adds your OSHA summary, and then you're going to submit your data. And then it sends a confirmation email. I'm going to create my establishment, and we're going to call my establishment I'm going to enter my employer identification number here. It says it's the wrong format. This is a test site, so don't worry about that. And here I'm going to just put JW on my company name. I'm going to put my address in. My city. And my state. It's a drop-down list. And my zip code. This is something really slick on this website. So if I typed in logging, all of the NAICS codes, the North American Industrial Classification Systems, numbers for logging are going to come up. So whatever your business is, you can type in that right here and pick your NAICS code from the drop-down list. So I'm going to type in construction, and I'm just going to click on construction, sand, and gravel dredging. I'm going to scroll down. The next question is, what was the maximum number of employees at this establishment for this year? And I'm going to click on between 20 and 249. Then it's going to ask you here, is this establishment part of a public sector government entity? I'm going to say no because I'm private. I am not part of state government nor a municipality. And I'm going to save this. It brings up the next page where you can look and review what you've entered into the system to make sure it's all correct. If you would like to edit it or remove it, you do that using these two tabs. I am going to scroll down now because everything's correct, and I'm going to add my 300A summary. Right here, I want you to click on this and answer it first. Did any recordable work-related injuries or illnesses occur at your establishment in this year? And I'm going to say yes. If you don't click on one of these, then it won't save it when you're finished completing this page at the bottom. So you have to click yes or no. Annual average number of employees, I'm going to put 40. Number of hours worked. I would like you to notice that there are boxes down here explaining what you're filling in, the information. So it's good to read through that. I had 0 deaths. I'm going to use the example that I did in the training, that I had 1 employee with 5 days with KOS due to an injury. So I know I had cases with days away from work. I had 1 case. There was no light duty, and there were no other recordable cases. Here, watch, if I type in 0, it's going to notify me that this is not correct, because if I had 1 day with cases away from work, I've got to have a value in this box right here. So it does tell you when you're entering data incorrectly. So I'm going to put 5 because this is the example with 5 days away from work. And I had 0 light duty days. Here again, if I put 0, it's going to injuries. Oh, it didn't flag me. But anyway, I had 1. There, it did flag me. Watch. 0. It's going to tell me I have to have, see, total numbers of injuries is required because I have something marked in H. And I have days away from work in column K. So they know I've had an injury, so I have to enter a value in there, 1. I had no skin disorders, no respiratory problems, no poisonings, no hearing loss, and no all other illnesses. Now I'm going to go down here and save. If you get to this box and you won't let you save it, that means that you forgot to fill in this area up here. Sorry, my mouse is, there you go. So you have to put a value in here in order to save this page. I'm going to save it. Now I will show you at the very bottom here what it has done. For the information that I've entered into the system, it's automatically calculated my total case incident rate, and it's automatically calculated my days away restrictions and transfer rate. So that is a good thing about the system. Also down here at the bottom, frequently asked questions, you can click on this and utilize it. if you have a question and it might have been answered by another business in the nation. A help request form is right here. I have used this and I sent an email. I got a response within 30 minutes. You can always call us for assistance as well. And that is how you enter the data into the internal tracking application system. And I would like to thank everyone for attending today's class. Please feel free to contact either myself, Holly Marquis, Amy Davidson, or Julio Salas at Approach Management Services with any additional questions. Thank you and have a wonderful day.